Hey everybody, this is Jackass with ApexHead.com bringing you an AVerMedia Game Capture HD informal review on how-to, the making of an Apex Head video. And you can see this is a screenshot of the box, and you can see that it includes the capture unit, a power adapter, a remote control and user manual, of course, and all the cables that you need to plug it into your console of choice. This is for the 360, PS3, and Wii. And forgive the video quality on this, I was using a little handheld, but this is the unit itself, and you can see it's got a USB slot here, and this is your record button, and this is your power button, and your remote sensor. And for this demonstration I'm using a 4 gig flash drive, and you can see that just plugs right on in there. Pretty hard to screw that up, and going to go ahead and power it on. Just to kind of show you how it's set up in the back in terms of cables and connectivity, we'll take a quick look at it behind the TV. You can see here's the back of the unit, and there are cables running from that to the back of the TV. And then moving over to the 360, what would normally be plugged into your TV actually runs out back into the capture unit as well. You can see it's got 2 levels for cables there. Quick overview of the remote. We've got our power button here. And we've also got a menu button which you can use for file navigation. We'll go over more of that in just a minute. And here's your navigation buttons as well as your select button. And moving down here is our record button. And then right next door to that you can see it's got a camera button, that's for capturing screen capture. And here's our play control buttons, and there's some buttons here at the bottom, but the only one you really have to be concerned with is the delete button, which helps with file management before transferring over to your PC. Now just a quick look at the video quality menu. I'll show you more of real time, but you can see what kind of recording links you get based on what you have your settings set to. I have it always set to optimal and find that it holds a great deal of data. I believe a 8 gig thumb drive will hold up to 87 minutes of HD capture, so a 4 gig is about half that. So here we are walking through getting game capture for a gameplay video, and I'll show you in just a moment after I select my car here kind of what my process is for getting these videos together. And it's taken me a little while to sort of come up with a format, but this seems to be the best. So as you can see here, I've got my I'm going to select my track, and watch in the top right hand corner when I select the still button you see a little camera icon flash, and what I'm doing is I'm capturing sort of the path for what event and track I'm going to. So now I've got my screenshots for the video itself. So now we're going to go ahead and skip ahead, and you can see in the top right corner the little record icon has just come on. I've hit the record button on the remote, and what I'm doing now is capturing my difficulty settings as well as the starting grid. And then at the end of this process, as soon as I hit start race, I'm going to end my capture. And so now I basically have my intro for the race. And the reason that I do it separate from the race itself is so that if I have problems, and you can see here in the top right corner, 15 seconds, got a 15-second clip. And going to go ahead and restart. The reason that I break it up like that is so that if I have significant problems with the race, if things aren't going well, I can restart it without having to recapture the entire difficulty setting sequence again. And you may have just noticed the recording settings, the recording indicator rather, came on the top right corner. So this is the actual race itself, and I am recording. And the unit does flash with a little red light when it's recording, so it's very easy to tell if it's actually working, because that little indicator in the top right corner is only there for a handful of seconds. So we've been recording for just a moment here, and let's assume that we're done with our capture or want to start over. Going to go ahead and pause the game, and I've stopped recording by hitting the record button on the remote. And what that's going to do is stop the capture process, and you can see in the top right corner we just got 55 seconds of video. And going to go ahead and restart the race. But let's take a look at the file management menu with recordings and snapshots, and what you can see in here is thumbnails of all the still images and video that you've captured. And the video clips are indicated by the little film stripes on the tops of the thumbnails that you can see there. If I select a image here, you can see it just brings me up to a full screenshot of the image capture, which is kind of nice if you're not sure what it was that you were doing before. Trust me, once you build up a lot of media, it's easy to get lost a little bit. And you can see here's another screen capture of the track, and one more here. And these are all the JPEGs. All of the formats are JPEG. And then down at the bottom here in the AVI format, we have the actual video clip. And I'm going to go ahead and play that. You can see here's my intro sequence. So this is a recording playback. You can see a little playback indicator in the top right corner. and it's telling me how many seconds it's played as well as how many seconds are left. So I've stopped that, and let's take a look at the race capture. This is the 55-second clip that we got just a moment ago, and you can see that I can skim through this. You can speed this up to, I believe, 32 times, so kind of like a DVD. This is 4 times, and move it up to 8 times, and now got it back in normal speed here, and you can see it's even got a slow down button, which is kind of nice if you want to get some cool shots or get an idea of, I don't know. I actually don't ever use the half speed, but it does have that. So now basically we've reviewed this video, and maybe we're not happy with it. So instead of dealing with that when I transfer the files to my PC, I'm going to go ahead and just delete it straight off of the USB drive, and I'm going to do that by, when it's selected, hitting the delete button. So now I'm backing out, and basically to start recording yet again. And a quick note, the AVerMedia Capture menu, as you can see, I start my recording again for another race sequence. The AVerMedia menu overlays the game itself, so the game actually does not stop when you have that menu activated. So that's important to know, that the game does not stop when you go into that menu. It's an overlay. So you'll want to pause or be somewhere where you're not having to worry about it. So now skipping ahead to the end of the race, let's assume that I'm happy with that. I end my recording, and now I'm going to go ahead and get a capture of the replay, and I do that by going into the replay. I wait for the UI buttons to disappear, and then I go ahead and release the left trigger, which is sort of the rewind button that holds it in place, and you can see that I'm recording this. So now moving along to moving these files over to the PC and doing some editing. I've plugged in my USB unit, and you can see here are all my files. If I'm not sure what a file is, I can double click it and check on it. This is of course using a PC running Windows 7, so a Mac will look a little bit different. And you can see I can preview my video clips here. This is running through, I don't know, Microsoft Windows Media Player, and I can skim through it if I want to. And the files are still sitting on my USB drive. I'm going to go ahead and select all of them, and I'm going to right click, and I'm actually going to copy them, and I'm going to go ahead and transfer them over to a designated directory. I'm going to go ahead and create a folder here with basically a name for the car so that I know what it is. And the reason that I use copy is so that if something happens during the transfer process, you won't necessarily lose your files. I'm going to go ahead and create a few folders. An export folder, that's going to be for my clips, and I've created a source folder, and that's where I'm going to drop all my source files, and that just kind of helps me keep it organized. And if you wanted to, you could create a folder here for stills and maybe move your JPEGs over to that. I typically keep everything in the source folder. I don't really worry about that. Most editing software will, in fact, kind of keep those separated for you. So I'm going to go ahead and move my screenshots back to my source folder and delete this stills folder that I just made. Basically just want to give you some ideas for file management. If there is one notable and glaring drawback of the AVerMedia, it does not come with any kind of editing software, so you're going to have to come up with that on your own if you don't have some already. You can see that I'm using a little app here called Kodak Media Impressions, which is basically just a built-in software utility for a camera that I have. And what I'm doing now is opening up some template files. I've got a template file for my highlights, I've got a template file for my intros, and then I put together the race at the end. So in this instance, I've opened up a highlight template that I've created, and going to go ahead and browse to my new highlight files that I just created and put this together, and then I'll be exporting that out as its own MP4. And that's going to get dropped into our export folder, and that's where I'm going to keep sort of my finished clips for anything relating to this particular edit. And you'll note in the playback, it's frame rate skipping pretty bad. Basically got some other processes running in the background, so this actually isn't a great time to be previewing these clips. But for the purposes of a highlight clip, I probably don't even need to be paying that much attention to it, just sort of getting some bits and pieces of it. You can see I'm adding on the end of the clip here, and that'll probably be my final export. Getting back to software for just a moment, there's actually a second program that I use for my editing process called Camtasia, and that is paid software, unfortunately, but I use that for my voiceovers as well as some other editing needs that the media impression software does not have. So now that we have our video editing done, I'm going to go ahead and add a MP3 file for music to overlay over the video. Basically, I run my highlights on my 360 without music, so I don't have to worry about that, and then I just add my music later. go ahead and hit the preview to kind of hear or see what it looks like with the music. And again, my playback is really bogged down right now, so not a very good representation, but you get the idea. So now that we're happy, I'm going to go ahead and export this. I'm going to call the file HL, which is just a naming convention I'm using for highlights. Going to navigate to the car folder and go back to that export folder that we created from the beginning, and that's where I'm going to be putting in all my exported MP4 clips. And we will be mixing all these clips together for the final edit. So I'll do an intro file as well as the erase file. So now skipping ahead back into media impression, I'm going to go ahead and open up my race template. I've exported my highlight file as well as my intro file as an MP4. And so you can see at the bottom I've got some clips from the last race that I did. I'm going to go ahead and wipe out these files and drop in my intro and highlight files. And then what I'm going to do is go back to the source folder for the race, and I'm going to put in my difficulty settings clip as well as my race clip. And then I'm going to go ahead and tweak the in and out points of each one of these clips. Like to get about 2 seconds of the car before we go to the difficulty settings. And that's fine. And now taking a quick look at the race clip, and going to go ahead and trim off the beginning where I'd hit start race and start it out in the black. And then go ahead and skip to the end and basically cut it off just past the finish line. Now, if you are looking for editing software, there are a number of free video editing apps out there. I suggest going to Google and just entering the search term free video editing software, and you'll come up with a number of links that have lists to the best resources out there, and chances are you can find something that works for you. So now that we're happy with our final edit here, I'm going to go ahead and export the entire final clip as a file called race, and you can call it whatever you want, of course, and going to put it in the designated export folder. So that will be our master gameplay video when this process is complete. A lot of people ask me what headset I use. This is a Microsoft LifeChat LX3000. Very powerful headset and microphone for very, very cheap. I think I got mine on Amazon for somewhere between $22 and $25. So assuming that I wanted to add some commentary to this video, I've opened up Camtasia, and before I get to that, I'm going to go ahead and set my headset as my default communication device so I can get audio fed through my headset. And this is Camtasia, and basically I've dropped in the gameplay clip that we just exported. Going to set my microphone settings and start recording. And now I've got some voice narration that I'm applying. You can see the green meter there bouncing up and down with the sound input. And as you may notice from the preview screen, this is actually a different video than the one that we've been working with, but for the purposes of demonstration you can at least see what I'm doing. So still recording now, and when I get to a point where I'm satisfied with what I've recorded, I'm going to go ahead and stop the voice narration, the recording. And what the program's going to prompt me to do at that point is to save the audio file. Where do you want to save this little file that we've just created? So I'm going to go ahead and create a folder here called audio. And you can see it's right with the export and source folder of the car directory. And I'm going to go ahead and name it 001, and that's just a sequential naming convention. I doubt I would ever need 100 clips, but you never know. So let's have a listen. Hey everybody, this is Jack Acid with ApexHead.com bringing you a July Car Pack commentary episode. Going to be taking a look at the 2012 Mercedes-Benz SLK 55 AMG. Going to be racing it at the Mercedes AMG Club manufacturing race, and I'm going to go ahead and skip. Okay, this is just a little bit weird, but you get the idea. Obviously doing some playback there for what I just recorded. And when I'm done with this, I'm going to export one last master MP4 file and upload it to YouTube. And here we have the final result, so you can kind of see what I've done here, see what it looks like when it's all shiny. And there's our McLaren. Obviously that gameplay video will be posted here soon, so hopefully you guys have learned something today about the AVerMedia Game Capture HD and a little bit about my editing process. If you guys have any questions about the hardware or my process, feel free to drop me a comment or send me an email. Bottom line, if you're interested in console capture, I highly recommend this unit. I didn't actually mention the price. I think I paid about $130 for mine. You can do some price checking online, but I think it's probably the best solution for console capture if you do not want to have everything connected to a PC. And now, of course, to end things properly, going to go ahead and watch just a handful of seconds of this clip in the McLaren. A lot of fun to drive. I'll have the gameplay video posted soon. So thanks again, everybody, and I'll see you next time.